Snell, who is our coaching program director, and Alan Berkowitz, who's one of our peer interns, and he has been serving with TPOR. They are going to do a demo. I'm very excited about this. Remember, this is just an 8-minute snippet, but I think it'll give you an idea of what happens in our 45-minute to an hour coaching session. So you have a job to do, audience. Here's what you're going to do. On page 12, I want you to be, I talked about the different kinds of support: emotional, informational, instrumental, affiliational. I want you to hear for those kinds of support. Was anything offered? And what life domains were discussed? Did you hear any of that talk? Was a goal discussed? You see the questions. There's your sheet to fill out on page 12. Other than that, are we ready to watch? Okay, let's go. So give a moment. Remember, this is starring Dallas Snell and Alan Berkowitz.
Well, good morning, Alan. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Dallas, and I am a person in long-term recovery. Alcohol was my drug of choice, and I was pretty much a professional drinker for well over 30 years. For the last 5 years of that, I have been able to maintain a successful recovery. And those are like the two top job requirements for being able to be a peer recovery support specialist. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and yourself, and what brings you to recovery coaching?
I was drinking and smoking pot almost, well, I was smoking pot on a daily basis and drinking heavy on the weekends for, wow, about 40 years. And it caught up to me. And so I went to rehab. It was an outpatient kind of thing through Kaiser, and I went for about 8 weeks or so. And then, I started going to a couple AA meetings, and my life's pretty much kind of unmanageable to make it happen without, having a drink or smoking pot just to chill out.
Thank you for sharing all that. I can definitely relate to wanting to be able to find ways to manage our lives without having to use, to manage our feelings. So if you're okay with us just jumping right in, I've got a questionnaire that I like to go over with you that can help us dig into a little of the details of the various domains of your life. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
All right. Well, let me share my screen with you. Okay. Relationships and social support. And this is all relationships with your significant other, with your family of origin, your extended family, your work relationships, just in general. How do you feel about your relationships and your sense of social connectivity?
Well, kind of dissatisfied. It's I obviously, when I decided I needed to go into recovery, there was issues at home, like, you better do something about your bad habits. And now that I'm, working and doing this other stuff, trying to go to meetings and stuff, I really don't have time to spend, with my wife and kids.
Okay, so there were issues at home about bad using habits, and now that you're putting a lot of work into changing all that, you're finding that's also interfering with the amount of time you have available for your relationships?
Yes.
Very good. Well, that's all 12 of those life domains there. Let's think about which one of these would be the most critical life domains to you right now that you would like to, make some changes in, increase your strengths.
Well, I think the relationship, it's something that needs to be mended with my wife, and I'm just not sure how to do that.
Well, off the top of your head, what are some of the things that you think you would like to explore doing with your wife in order to change some of this?
Well, we haven't been out together really, kind of like on a date a long time. Maybe set up, go out to dinner or something, go to a movie, have a chance to be away from the house and talk a little bit, kind of on a low key thing. Um, and maybe even look into maybe something, what kind of counseling we have available in my insurance, and maybe talk to her about if she'd be willing to go do something like that.
Oh, that sounds like a great list. And it's pretty awesome that you actually had that right on the top of your head. So this sounds like something you have been thinking about already and have some ideas about. So I've written down what you've told me up here in terms of how you define this goal on improving your relationship with your wife. And it's stated as increase harmony in my marriage by having more conversations and more personal intimacy. And some of the immediate action steps that you described to me included one, scheduling weekly date nights and weekends, which could include things like dinner and a movie, nature hikes, afternoon at the beach, and other things along that line. And then number two was exploring relationship counseling with your wife. And you mentioned that you could reach out to your insurance provider for marriage counseling referrals. And then I also suggested that we knew some great folks over at the Hoag Mental Health Center that provide marriage and family counseling. So I will be following up with you to send you the contact information for the intake person at Hoag, and I will also be sending you a printout of all of these things that we've got written right here. All right, Alan, a question I have for you about this goal of increasing harmony in your marriage. Can you tell me about any strengths that you have in this area that are going to be supportive of accomplishing these goals?
Yeah, we've been together a long time and been through, a lot of situations in life, and we made it through that. And ultimately, we care about each other, and this whole recovery thing is a positive thing.
Awesome. Yeah. So, a long history, and you are in recovery. So these are positive strengths, increasing the harmony in your marriage. Now, it helps to sometimes think in advance about what some of the challenges or barriers might be, so that you're not caught, off guard whenever they come up. So can you think of any, what barriers or challenges you might have in achieving this goal?
Part of it's going to be my schedule. It's like I've just been juggling everything and not making it a priority to set up the time. The other thing is I have to be kind of low key about this and not really try to push it on the wife, because then, we've had a rocky road, the last couple of years.
Yeah, so the first challenge or barrier I heard was that you've just been in the habit of not really scheduling time for this and making it a priority, and that's something that you really intend to work on this time around. And the other one is that you need to be careful and not push your wife too hard or too fast into this.
Yes.
All right, well, that brings us to the good stopping point for our session today. And I think it was an awesome first session, Alan. Phenomenal work on your part there.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Okay, so thank you, Dallas and Alan. Now, clearly, Alan had some recovery capital, right? He's able to now focus on rebuilding that relationship with his wife. But I would like you guys to help me debrief this demo, maybe in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself. What types of peer support did you notice? What did you see? What was the support given? Anybody?
I seen that he didn't tell him what he needed to do or what direction to go in. He asked him what he thought in the, it was a good give and take. He didn't push anything on him, but he accepted and went with that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, he was letting the peer direct what was going to happen, what's important. And then I'm seeing some things in here. Wow. Emotional, reflecting, a lot of validation, really active listening, a lot of reflection, listening, asking the right questions to get him to dig a little deeper. And remember, you are only seeing a brief snippet of a session. So we typically go quite deep. Dallas, I know, was having a trouble trying to cut out things because he wanted to share with you what really goes on in our sessions. He was asking permission and he was asking open-ended questions and shared a little bit of his own experience. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the contributions here. The follow-up questions, providing a copy of the plan, community connection. These are beautiful. So, whoa, Dallas, look what you did in 8 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay. And the life domains. Did he discuss any life domains? Anybody? What life domain? Relationships, absolutely. And go ahead.
Oh, mending things with his wife.
Mending things with his wife. And that can be one of the tasks of recovery, is mending things with our life partner. So yes, absolutely. And sometimes we'll focus on more than one domain, but sometimes that can be overwhelming. So zeroing down on one domain and really getting the action steps that are going to heal that piece can be very empowering for our peers.
It's like prioritizing.
Prioritizing. Yes. Thank you for sharing, Shanetta. And social support. I see that one as well. You guys are on this. I think you've got it. Now, did you hear any goal or action step? Was there anything this peer was supposed to do before they met the next time? Anything?
I think more contact with his wife, wasn't it?
Yeah. So see, yes, absolutely. He was set up a date night, check into getting some counseling, increase the harmony in his marriage. So we try to do things, we call them SMART goals. They're measurable, they're time bound, they're doable, they're relevant. So relaxation and recreation in tandem, more personal intimacy. You guys were really listening. So yes, the peer walks away with an action plan to bring that area, that life domain, to wellness, to healing. And that is the essence of peer coaching. And I'm so glad you were able to see that and experience that with Dallas and Alan. Can we have a round of applause, please? Dallas, thank you so much. I asked him to do this. It was such a heavy lift. Thank you. I will clap. Thank you so much for your doing that for us today. I so appreciate it. And Alan, thank you. So we now have seen Peer Recovery Coach demo, and they're thanking you in the chat. I hope you're seeing that, the two of you. So the last piece of this was, and we only have a few more minutes together, how do we hire, find, or become a peer coach? So first, let's look at how do we hire one? Now, this is from the Purpose of Recovery's perspective. Okay, so there's more than just this, but here's who we know is hiring right now. The Purpose of Recovery, treatment centers, emergency rooms, county health and social services. I'm not sure about Orange, but I know several counties are hiring peer support coaches. Veterans Administration. There may be others, and if you know of some and you want to share in the chat, if you know who's hiring peer coaches right now, please put that in the chat. We will give you the ability to keep this chat when we're all done. Anyone else know who's hiring? But there is a growing need, and legislation is supporting paying peer coaches to do what many of us have done as a volunteer for years. So that's who hires, and I don't see anything going in the chat yet, but if you know of anyone else, please do share. Now, How do I find a peer coach? Let's say you need one. Well, simple. You go to tpoor.org. tpoor.org is where you can find our comprehensive resource list. It's also how you can find a peer coach. So email us at info@tpoor.org. This is all in your workbook. Call us at 714-485-3772 or send us a message on Facebook at The Purpose of Recovery. So lots of ways you can find a peer coach if you're interested in hooking up with The Purpose of Recovery. We would love to hear from you. I hope that helps. And I bet there's other ways to find a peer coach. So we're really just focusing on from our perspective. And then last but not least, certainly not least, how can I become a peer coach? Maybe some of this is resonating with you. Maybe you're seeing yourself doing this life-giving work. So number one, as Dallas said, you have to have lived experience to be a peer coach. You can be a coach without that, but a peer coach, lived experience is key. Complete about 46 hours of required training. CCAP offers that right now. Volunteer after you get the training, then that's the what. Now you need to know how. And you can volunteer as an intern. You need about 100 hours of supervised peer coaching experience where you're shadowing and doing and being guided. So that's some of the basics. And then it's real helpful if you have some of the essential competencies of a peer coach. And I outlined some of them for you on page 14, but they're listed here for you. Get your own house in order first, right? Some really sound self-care is super important. Understanding what recovery is all about, having a solid recovery program, whatever that means for you. Willingness to share your story in an appropriate way using conscious use of self, very effective communicator. We teach some of that, but because you learn how to ask those open-ended questions and listen in the way that Dallas was listening. To work in a team environment, especially if you're part of a recovery community center, and then just learn the skills and the steps of coaching, which you do through practice and through doing. So I hope that answers some of your who, what, where, when, how questions. Do you have any questions on how to hire, find, or become a peer coach in the couple minutes that we have left? Any questions? How do you become an accredited peer coach? Sarah, I hope I answered that for you. Again, CCAP right now has the training program for getting the credential here in California, and then getting the how through an internship. TPOR offers that. So please reach out to us. Anyone else have some questions that we can answer for you? Well, maybe I've answered all your questions. So now my question is, do all of you know what peer recovery coaching is and what we do as peer recovery coaches? And do you have a better idea of what it actually looks like to do peer recovery coaching? And then would you have some inkling of how to hire, find, or become a peer coach? Because if the answer is yes, then we have achieved our goal for you for today. So I hope you got something out of this. And if you could share one key takeaway you will apply right away, we'd love to hear that from you. I'm just making sure I haven't missed any. Where do I find the training on the CCAP site? Christina, are you still on? Oh, you put it in there. Dallas posted in the chat the credentialing, the CCAP credentialing website, which will start you on that process. It's not hard, and you will learn so much. Anyone else? What am I missing here? Peer coaches are essential. Yes, we are. And it says, yes, thank you so much. I learned that I have much to learn, but I'm so excited to make this journey. And it's one of the most exciting journeys we can make. If you continue to go ahead and put your final thoughts in the chat, there is an evaluation I will ask you to take. Can you put that in the chat, Dallas?